I think that your niche is 50% like who you are and 50% who your audience is. It's like, who am I doing this for? Who am I talking to right now? And I think that we get that twisted a lot. I think that a lot of influencers are like, this is about me. This is about, I'm only sharing the content that I want to share. I'm like, to who? Who do you hope clicks on this? Because you are making it for somebody. This isn't all about you. So who are you making it for? Who is your target audience?
This is the Good Influencer Podcast with Julia Markham and Becca McLeod, pulling back the curtain of how this multi-billion-dollar industry works. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.
Welcome back to the Good Influencer Podcast. I hope you all are having an amazing week. I have a very special guest with me today. You may recognize her from season 1, Victoria Bradley, who is the brand manager at Chris Loves Julia.
I am. Thank you so much. I'm Chris Loves Julia's brand manager, which is the hardest way to say that. And I've been doing this for 6 years, and Julia poached me from the magazine world, which was very adjacent to what I do now. Because I was managing a team of like editorial people, photographers, writers, stylists, and I was managing an ad sales team. And it was like, that's still what I do.
Yeah. And a lot of people may not know that Victoria actually does also manage the team. And so she kind of, she orchestrates so much going on behind the scenes to make sure like Good Influencer is meshing and what do we need for editorial and how is that working with collabs and working with affiliates. So she is like behind the scenes making all these plays.
I hope it. I'm like, am I doing that good? It feels like I'm doing that. But I also, this is like blast from the past. I made Julia's first media kit, and there was something on it that was $50. Like I had a media kit for the magazines that I was the editor of, and we had media kits. And I was, it was the very early days. Julia is one of the first. She is one of the first influencers, back in 2009, 2010. And I was like, you need a media kit and you need to be charged. And, after that, it was, and it wasn't until 2018, 2019 that I came to work here. But by then, the media kit was looking better. There was lots of brands that Julia had worked with. And that's why I love to hang out in the Good Influencer Mastermind and coach and mentor other influencers who maybe are just getting their start or just, getting their feet wet in different parts of the business. And this business does change every day. It's not like it was when I started 6 years ago. I always tell people this was not a job when I graduated from college, but it is now. And you can, and also, you probably get this too, Becca. People ask me what I do, and I tell them, I kind of have started saying I'm in social media marketing because when I say I work for an influencer, they're like, now how do you make money doing that? How does anybody make money doing that?
I always get that. And is that a full-time job? I'm like, yeah, it is. We recently moved and everyone asks what you do. And like, sometimes I'm like, I always say I work in influencer marketing. And sometimes people like dig, do they want to know more? And sometimes they're like, oh, okay. And that's my sign of like, it's not really their thing. They don't really care to learn more about that. But
I was having dinner with friends. Well, they're friends of friends. And they'll never see this, so I can talk about them. They were talking about how, they're not on social media. And I felt like very talked down to by these people. Like, we're not on social media. Oh, we don't do that. And it was like, I was the Antichrist because not only am I on social media, but I work for an influencer. I represent an influencer. And, the guy was like, I just wish that I could like work in my garden all day or like work in my garage. Like, I really want to get back into like woodworking. And I wanted to tell him, what if I told you you could do that and make content around it and then you would be an influencer? That's all it is. It's like, what is the content you're passionate about making?
Or what if I told you that you could learn how to be an expert gardener for free on the internet via influencers teaching you how to do this?
There are people doing it.
Well, Victoria has really kind of been my partner in crime these last 4 years. Chris trained me and Julia did a training and Victoria did a very long training. But I mean, we are in constant contact and she'll let me know. I just got this contract from a brand. It has this new clause in it. Here's why you should tell influencers not to go for this. Or we would do this, but here's what we would charge. And when she says like the industry is changing all the time, it really is. And these brands are throwing in new words. I saw like 4 new ones this week in the mastermind.
Every day.
And so she's always keeping me on top of it and making sure I know like, okay, whitelisting is now called allow listing. They may see it in the contracts as either one. Might. Uh-huh. I actually this week saw a contract in the mastermind where the brand asked for whitelisting and they asked for backlisting.
Ooh, what's that?
I don't even know. I told her, I'm like, you have to ask them because maybe they mean boosting.
Maybe they mean boosting. The thing is, like, it's like the industry keeps changing and there's new vocabulary words and we have to stay up on this.
Right.
I got an email yesterday, almost forwarded it to you. I ended up forwarding it to the brand instead. There's a brand that we work with at Chris Loves Julia, and somebody impersonating the brand emailed me for to do content. And I don't know what the end game is, but they use the brand's name at gmail.com. And then because immediately I was like, why am I getting this request from, I'm like not saying the name of the brand, but like, why am I getting this request from them? We already have a contract with them. And it was like, oh, this is fake. And that's one thing you have to look for when you are an influencer. Where's the email coming from? Is it coming from like at the URL or is it coming from Gmail? Like,
yeah.
And it like, I don't know what the end game was, because like maybe it was like we were gonna like order something, like I don't know how like they would make money from that. It was a weird thing. Anyway, look out for that.
Look out, because they may like, I don't know like what information they could steal. Like before you offer any information to a brand, you should check it out. But they're just gonna end up with a whole bunch of content and then an invoice.
I'm like, why would they like altruistically want this brand to make content for us? I'm going to dig into that and I'll let you know.
Yeah.
I sent it to the brand. I was like, hey, just so you know, somebody's impersonating you, trying to get us to make content. I don't know.
What could they possibly want? Interesting.
We're already going to do that.
I could see a world in which like maybe in the way they pay you, they could steal some information.
Or, okay, some agencies that are trying to get the job with a brand, they're trying to get that brand as a client, will reach out to us and ask us to do a campaign for so-and-so, and what would our rates be? And they don't yet have that brand as a client. That happens a lot.
Really dirty to act like you are the brand, though, and not an agency.
To be like, we work with so-and-so. And it's like, well, no, because we work with them. And we worked with them pretty directly. So maybe that was the end game. Maybe it was like they were going to contract us using a Gmail address. Like blank influencers at gmail.com. And then they were going to go to the brand and get paid that way. That's probably, we figured it out there.
No harm, no foul, but needless to say, it's not a campaign where
you can't outsmart me. You have to get up pretty early in the morning to outsmart me.
You've seen it all. Well,
okay, so you were asking me about influencers with less than 5,000. Tell me what you were.
Yes. I wanted to, we've talked a lot about sponsorships on the podcast, but I actually kind of want to talk about what happens before sponsorships. When you have a smaller following, you're just getting into this. How can you get into the sponsorship world with a smaller following? So if you yourself were a new influencer, having worked with brands, and been a brand manager for 6 years, if you had, let's say, under 5,000 followers, what would you be doing right now to be attracting your dream brands?
I would be using that brand in my content and tagging them. That is like influencer 101. If you really like a brand, it's a home brand, it's a clothing brand, it's a lifestyle brand, show yourself organically using that product, and also style using that and tag them. Keep creating content where you are, it's like there's brand association with your audience. They know that you use Philips Sonicare, or, they know that you shop at Lowe's. You even like record stories organically from the Lowe's parking lot. Like, that is the best way to get a brand's attention. And then I'm going to come back to that because something usually happens right after you do that. But then phase 2 is to use affiliate links. And
right.
If you have, I don't care if you have 500 followers, if you have a following and you are engaging with that following every day, and then you start using affiliate links, you're now you're an ambassador for this brand. You're tagging them in your content, and you're sharing a link that's a service to you're saying like, this leaf blower is on sale at Lowe's today. It's $100 off. You're in the aisle at Lowe's, and then you go home and you're tagging them and you're showing your leaf blowing your yard, you're cleaning everything up, and there's a link for people to get that thing. Then you're getting the brand's attention in 2 ways. You are doing user-generated content, which is the thing I want to go back to. Brands always get in touch when you start like making really great content with their products. And then you're also making them money. Your affiliate link costs the consumer no additional money. It's not more money if they buy it through an affiliate link or if they just go to the website and buy it. So it's a service that you're providing. You're like, I got the link for you. This is the $100 off. Here you go. But it's like, look how many sales I generated through this link. And I can't tell you how many times we have had a brand reach out because we sold out something. And maybe there were only, 15 products, but they were like, wow, we saw this huge bump, and it was Chris Loves Julia sent out a link to that. And we'd love to work with you. And you think like, why would they want to pay to work with you if you are for free, like sharing their links? Why would they want to pay you? And the answer is because when a brand sponsors content, they get to send over all of their messaging. So you are now following a brief, and you're going to create content that is like all the way aligned with their brand standards. It's like you're already acting as an ambassador organically, and now they're going to get this really great sponsored content where, maybe you have a code or something like that. I do get that question a lot though. It's like, why would they reach out to sponsor you if you're already doing it for free? And it's like, because they get to kind of promote what they're trying to promote. They might have a new product launching, and they're like, they really want you behind it. And I mean, that's generally how it works. But the other thing I was going to say is about user-generated content. So let's say you have 5,000 followers, 1,500 followers, and you make a really great reel going back to the leaf blower, blowing your backyard. It looks so beautiful. After the brand sees that, and you've tagged them in it, it's just an organic tag. How many times, I know because I see influencers in our Good Influencer Mastermind saying this all the time, that the brand reaches out in a DM and they say, we'd love to share that on our page. Yeah. We'd love to share that content on our page.
Or even in a comment, they'll reach out.
Mm-hmm. They'll reach out in a comment. And that's a great entry point. I mean, at that point, you can open up the conversation. We always tell people, take it to DMs, take it to email, talk about licensing that content. Sell them on using that for commercial use. They already love it, that kind of thing.
Yeah. I love that. So it's tagging brands organically in your content, using their affiliate links, and then all that works up to sponsorships later. Now, you may still have to pitch that brand later, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But you have this whole backlog of basically analytics to show them, this is how many link clicks I got on your product. This is how many products I sold.
Yeah.
And my audience clearly loves your brand. So let's work together.
Also, I pitch brands every day. And what I do is I'll take, in our Monday meeting, we go over the top link clicks of the week on Chris Loves Julia. And we also talk about the top, like of all of the links that we shared organically. So these weren't sponsored links. What did people buy the most of? What did they click on, but maybe they didn't buy it? What was the highest order? And I will reach out to those brands and I'll tell them. I'll say, like, in case they didn't know that, we sold 83 of these, and that's a lot. That, even if we made, maybe we made a couple $100 in commission on that, it's like you have to think of their shipped revenue. And I'll reach out to that brand and I'll say, this was our top performer of the week. I'd love to work with you guys on a sponsored campaign. And you should do that. You should be looking at your analytics. Those are your friends. And saying, even if they don't take notice, send them an email. Send them an email once a week and say, this week I posted about your blah, 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 and I sold 15 of them. Or even if you didn't sell them, like this link got 1,000 clicks. Wow. That's huge.
Yeah.
And brands really love that. That's a great way to pitch.
It makes me think about also another opportunity, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but a few weeks ago, Julia shared some dishwasher tabs and or was it a dishwasher cleaner? It was some sort of like product.
It was like dishwasher cleaner. Yeah.
Yeah. And linked it through Amazon. And then the seller reached out and it was like, just a company that sold through Amazon, but he reached out and correct me if I'm wrong. He couldn't do a sponsorship at the time, but he did offer an increased affiliate commission, which was a huge bonus because instead of making, a very small commission, because that's what Amazon sets for cleaning products, he multiplied it by like 5 times.
It was. And a lot of commissions that you're going to see on affiliate revenue are in the single digits. And that seller came back with double-digit commission. And that was very valuable. And it was great incentive for us because it's like our audience really loved that product. They loved seeing the before and after of the dishwasher. It was a really low lift. The dishwasher tablets are less than $10. So it got a lot of clicks and there was a high conversion on that. And, the brand couldn't do our rates for a sponsored story, but it benefited them if we were to post about it again. But also it's a no strings attached deal. We're not required. We're not contracted to post about them again, but they did further incentivize.
Yeah.
And we have brands right now. This is a new era of sponsorships. And it's happening with 2 of the brands that we're working with right now. Instead of paying our rates, they're bumping it up a little bit. They're bumping up our rates. They're paying more than what is on the rate card for an Instagram story set, for example. And then we are both Chris Loves Julia and the brand are tracking shipped revenue sales. And when we hit the number that they've set forward, so they've already paid a flat fee for the quarter. And they say, we want you to mention our brand and our products as much as possible. And when we make back the initial investment, so 1 for 1, if we can make back the money that we're investing in Chris Loves Julia, we're going to turn on an increased affiliate revenue. So usually when you do a sponsorship, you're not also getting affiliate revenue. That's not usually the case. But because you're using their UTMs, you're using their links, if you're getting sponsorship, a flat fee, you usually don't also compound that with affiliate revenue. And something new that brands are doing is, and like I said, I have 2 contracts right now where if we meet the base that they've set forward, which is a substantial base, and we're grateful to be paid for this work and this promotion, then we start making affiliate revenue. And what's nice about it is that that's incentivizing Julia and Chris to keep mentioning this brand, which they already organically love. They were talking about this brand before we were ever sponsored by them. And it feels so authentic. Because it is, it's like they just keep talking about the brand, and we hit the quarterly goal. We weren't even halfway through the quarter when we hit the goal. So it was really nice. And now we're making affiliate revenue off of it, and we still got to make the sponsorship fee.
Yeah.
Kind of cool.
I love that. When it comes to getting noticed by brands, how do you think having a niche plays a role in that? Is that important? Do brands look for influencers who have niche down to work with?
Yeah, there's so many people on, I'll just talk about Instagram. There's so many people on Instagram, and even people who are not, trying to make a go at being an influencer and are not monetizing this in any way are creating content. And you're competing for eyeballs with those people. So if you want to get a brand's attention, you do have to be unique and different. And that's what niching down is. It's like setting yourself apart and putting out there what is so uniquely you. RuPaul always says, know your brand and deliver it at all times. And now I'm adopting that. And I'm just telling influencers, like, know your brand, deliver it at all times. Yeah, you have to niche down. You have to be like, what is so special about you that we should be sponsoring you versus the other guy? And I also think about this with like comedy. Like, have you ever seen those like documentaries and behind the scenes stuff of The Cellar in New York? And they're like auditioning new comics, and they were like, you're just another like white guy with problems. Like, what, like, you have to set yourself apart if you're going to make it in this business. I think of that way about influencing too.
Yeah.
It's like, what is your niche? What is so unique about you that nobody has? And it's like, you have to get more and more specific to find it.
And you mentioned yesterday in our office hours in the mastermind that kind of on the flip side, as an influencer, having a niche gives you the power to really understand your audience and know which kinds of brands and products are going to resonate most. You will be better at choosing brands to partner with than someone who hasn't niched down and maybe doesn't know their audience.
Absolutely. I think that your niche is 50% like who you are and 50% who your audience is. It's like, who am I doing this for? Who am I talking to right now? And I think that we get that twisted a lot. I think that a lot of influencers are like, this is about me. This is about, I'm only sharing the content that I want to share. I'm like, to who? Who do you hope clicks on this? Because you are making it for somebody. This isn't all about you. So who are you making it for? Who is your target audience? And that is a big part. If you are delivering for that person and you have a very clear picture of who that person is, I mean, that's what the brands are doing. They have a very clear picture of who their audience is. And if you align with that target audience, and you will, I mean, if you're already being a brand ambassador and you're already tagging them organically in your stories and in your content, and then you're sharing their affiliate links, they're going to be like, okay, yeah, this person's like, our people already associate her with our brand. We should be working with her.
Yeah, for sure. I remember, when Alex Earl over on TikTok really started to blow up, she, was posting these get ready with me. And she had her signature products, her makeup products, the drink she was always drinking. And then you started to notice those brands picking her up for sponsorships. The makeup companies, she came out with her own line of energy drinks with this brand that she was drinking all the time. Like, it was such an organic part of her content, and they recognized and said, you know what? She is reaching our target audience. We need to be working with her. And it created all these insane opportunities for her.
You know what else? When Julia shares a link to something that she just organically loves, I can't tell you how many DMs we get from people like, do you have a code? And it's like, no, we actually don't work for them. I'm just sharing a link. Like, yeah. I don't have a code for them, because I think that we are conditioned to being like, you're sharing that link because you have a contract with them, right? And she's like, no, I just, I bought these shoes. I love them. I'm sharing this link with you. And it's usually after the brand, after you're sponsored by the brand, after you start working with them, then they make a code for you. But yeah, it's like you start seeing that brand recognition. You start associating certain content creators with certain brands. Then you gotta like talk about loyalty. Because when people start associating you with the brand and then you flip, oh, we hear about that sometimes,
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes we have to charge for exclusivity because there's a price of saying no to like competitors. And other times it makes sense for us to, it's like we're already so ingrained with that brand. It's like we're not actually going to use one of the competitors.
Right.
And it makes sense then to create a robust contract where it's not really like we don't need a non-compete and exclusivity. Instead, let's put those funds into working together and like building something bigger. Does that make sense?
No, it does. And we've talked about exclusivity. Like that is something you should always charge for. But you will get into a space where you have such a great relationship with these brands that every contract starts to look different and not everything is by the book. And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's all right.
It's also like, I'm gonna say we have been asked to try and we have been asked to test in a sponsored capacity, I think every air fryer on the market. And that's one of those places where Chris and Julia are very curious. And even though they have their favorites, it's like if we don't have exclusivity with the brand around an air fryer, they're like, we'll try the other one and we're going to candidly tell our audience what we think about it. And another thing, and this is something that Chris and Julia swear by, that I have always maintained, is that we don't sign any contracts for anything they haven't tried before. So like, we talked about the pathway is, you organically love something, you tag it, you do the affiliate link, then you get a sponsorship. Well, sometimes a brand will reach out and you've never worked with them before and you've never even used their product. And I will die on this hill. Do not ever sign a contract to promote a brand you've never tried before. And there isn't a brand that I have ever said this to that has said no thanks. Everybody who we've worked with has said, and you know what else? Chris and Julia are so passionate about this that they won't even let the brand send them a gift. We recently started working with a cookware company, and before we started working with them, Chris bought a lot of the cookware to start working with, like to start using it to see if this was something that we wanted to work with as a sponsorship. And there's a lot of integrity in that.
Oh, yeah.
Becca and I love chatting with you every week, but in between the podcast episodes, we're hanging out in our influencer mastermind. With a good influencer subscription, you get access to our exclusive course library designed to help you build your business as an influencer and our mastermind forum on Facebook. This is your place to ask questions, network, and workshop. Here you can receive feedback from thousands of other influencers and our team. Listeners get 30% off their monthly subscription by using the code podcast at checkout. See you in the mastermind.
So talking about integrity, talking about trust, when you have a smaller following, let's say under 5,000 followers, how do you show brands that your audience really trusts you and trusts your recommendations?
That's when I would go back to your insights and your analytics. If they trust you, that means that they're clicking on your links. That means they're engaging with your content. So maybe you have 5,000 followers, but you're consistently getting 500 likes on your posts. That would be a lot,
Yeah.
Or your story views are really high. You're getting a big chunk of your audience, and you go back and you look at your insights every week and you look at the content that people are resonating with. And that's how you can show a brand. You say, I am a content creator. I have 5,000 followers, and this link that I posted got 500 clicks. And I want to work with you in some capacity. And I think that's where it's going to be. It's like my people trust me because they show up for me every day. And that loyalty, like audience loyalty, it's worth more than all the affiliate revenue and all of the sponsorship revenue, because the market goes up and down and this algorithm changes all the time. But if you have a loyal following, it's way more important than a large following.
Absolutely.
Somebody, they're loyal. They're looking for your content. They're engaging with it every day.
And, we've referenced media kits a few times. And if you haven't heard of media kits, this is essentially your portfolio, your resume that you send to a brand whenever you pitch to them, saying, here's what my brand is, here's what my audience looks like, here's what my analytics are, and here's what my rates are. And it goes along with a pitch email telling the brand, I would love to work with you on a campaign for X, Y, and Z. And I review a lot of media kits in the mastermind. And one of the biggest mistakes I see influencers making is having a very small analytics portion where they just say, here's my following on Instagram and here's my rate. That should be the most robust section of your media kit, where you're saying, here's my follower count, here's my 30-day reach, here's what my link click percentage is, here's what my top link clicks were for the last 30 days. Let's let them see what kind of products your audience are clicking on. Tell them, how many average likes and comments you're getting. You really have to kind of brag about how much your audience loves your content and trusts you before dropping the rates on them.
Also, every morning I screenshot our story views, our link clicks, our reel views, because even though I send out our media kit, anytime I'm having a conversation about a sponsorship, I'm not even assuming that they're going to open it. Sometimes the brand is not opening attachments. So there's a lot of information in the body of the email where I'll say, like, maybe I'm talking about something that we linked to that got it was our highest clicked link of the week and blah, blah, blah. And I'll say in the body of the email how many link clicks it got. Get used to summarizing like top lines of your media kit in an email, assuming they're not going to open your media kit. And you should always send screenshots of today. Like send today's, it could be from the last 7 days or the last 30 days, honestly, whatever is better. But I send screenshots with all of my emails to show them like this was taken at 9:00 this morning. So you guys are getting like really fresh stuff. While the media kit, we update it about every 3 months or so. And I'm updating all those numbers, like all the engagement numbers. It's like, you're still not going to sign a contract without seeing like the screenshots of what's right now. So
right.
That's some advice I would give you. Like definitely have a media kit and get ready to send it out, but be also ready to summarize your media kit in an email, top line stuff, what they would be interested in, and send screenshots of your insights on Instagram at least.
Yeah. And if you are someone who's listening in and thinking, man, my analytics are really low right now, I don't want to show these to a brand. That's okay. Take a few weeks to really, really focus on the content you're creating and engagement and niching down and creating that high quality content for your target audience, getting to know your target audience, and then put them on your media kit. It's okay to take a step back, especially when you're just starting out. I don't want newer influencers to think like, okay, 50% of my time needs to go to sponsorships, because when you are starting to grow your audience, the bulk of your time should be spent on growing and nurturing the audience and getting to know them and creating content. And so if you feel like my analytics are not where they need to be, take a few weeks and focus on your analytics, and then, make your media kit and start sending it out when you feel that your numbers are starting to look a little better. Brands understand that engagement goes up and down. And so if you need to take a step back, that's okay.
Also, become the hot girl in the bar. Why don't you, instead of take the summer off from pitching brands. I'm giving you permission. You can take the summer off from pitching to brands and work on making the most quality content that you can possibly make and engage with your audience every day and organically just tag brands in your content and share stories and share links and all of that stuff and say, I'm not going to pitch a brand until September. And, or you let them come to you, like be the hot girl in the bar and let the brand come to you. Make yourself irresistible to them because your engagement is high, your content is good, and like you're not even thirsty. How about that?
I love this analogy so much. So if you were to, what would you tell a creator that has under 1,000 followers who thinks they're not ready for brand deals?
I would say that you absolutely are. That if I had fewer than 1,000 followers, I would be licensing content every day. I would be tagging brands in my content when they reached out for that content and asked if they could post it on their page or on their website. I would sell it to them.
Yeah.
And those would be the brand deals that I would do. I would sell 4 images a week for $250. I'd make $1,000 a week. And yeah, you could definitely quit your day job if you did that, you know? Like just I would instead of when you are sponsoring content, you are really selling your platform and your audience. You are, becoming a spokesperson for this brand. And before you can do that, it's like if they fall in love with your content and they want to license it, I mean, it's a very low lift. $250 is not a lot for a brand to pay for a quality image of their product in a situation.
For sure.
They would pay a professional photographer thousands of dollars for that image. They have budgets for UGC. They have it. And you should be licensing that content before you have 1 follower. You can be licensing your photos and your videos that you're passionate about making.
And I'm so glad you brought that up. UGC, for anyone that's not familiar, user-generated content. This is when you are creating content for the brand to use in their own marketing, and there's no obligation to post it to your own page. So your following, your analytics actually are kind of obsolete in this scenario. And really, it just comes down to the quality of content you're creating. And brands can come to you, or you can go to them and say, I'd love to, create some images for this new product you have coming out, and then you can sell those images for $250 a pop for a year of usage.
Start there. We sell them for more than that, but we do license a lot of photos and a lot of videos. And I will say too that when Julia got started, she had brands reaching out to her. I remember Crate and Barrel reached out to her. She posted a photo and she tagged Crate and Barrel, and they said, we would love to share that on our Instagram account. Now, she made sure that they weren't going to put it in an ad. They were just going to share it on their Instagram account. And she said, will you tag me in the caption, not just in the photo? I want to be tagged in the caption. And they said, yes. And she got a lot of followers from that. And there were other brands who started doing that. And then like magazines were doing that. Domino was doing that. They were asking if they could share this photo. And there's a fine line, because if they're sharing it, here's something. I don't ever let a brand do this if it's a reel, because I think you can monetize a reel a little bit more.
Yeah.
But you can make a judgment call on organic content. If there's a very big dream brand that you want to work with, there's Pottery Barn is coming at you and they're saying, we'd love to share your picture in our feed and we'll tag you. You're allowed to say yes to that without licensing the image. Now, you should still quote them on licensing for commercial use. That means that they could use that image on a retail page or in an ad. They could use it in a catalog once they buy the image from you, and you still retain the rights to the image. But I think that there is a lot of value, especially if it's a brand that you love, that you would love to work with. I think it could grow your audience. Now, I'm not talking about these media companies that are vultures that are coming out and saying, we want to post your content on our page. And it's like, all they're doing is resharing people's work. I hate that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about mega brands, big brands that love your work and your images, that was a foot in the door for Julia. I know it was. I remember the day. I remember the day that Crate and Barrel reposted her photo and she saw a jump in new people who joined the channel, who followed her after that.
Yeah.
So, take it with a grain of salt. And that's the kind of thing that we do talk about in the Good Influencer Mastermind. We kind of go over the ask and say would this be beneficial? Is this something you should be charging for? Because it's hard. I mean, it's gray area, I think.
Yeah, it is. And a lot of times the brand does just lump in commercial usage, but you can always push back and say, you're welcome to share organically in your feed on Instagram. That's fine, as long as I'm given credit.
As long as I'm giving credit, if you want to license this image for commercial use, to put paid media behind it, to put it in a catalog, to put it on a retail page, I charge $250 per image per year. Put that.
Yeah.
I mean, you can put that response in the can. I know that there are people listening to this podcast right now who have DMs from brands asking to repost their images. And I just want you to copy and paste that into the DM. And I'm telling you, they're going to say yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's going to be really exciting.
Okay, I have one question from the mastermind that I actually wanted to get your opinion on, because I think there's a great lesson in here for anyone listening. And she said, I'm super curious to hear what others think about this. I recently collabed with a company and my standard rate for a sponsored post through my channels was not within their budget. I adjusted the pricing so they could still purchase content and post from their channels and invite me as a collaborator. Well, it didn't get the exposure they hoped for. They're being super sweet about it, and I threw in some story shares as well. I'm wondering if I should offer more support or if professionally I need to have a limit. Also, what do you say when collabs don't perform as clients hoped they would?
It does happen. It happens to us. We do make goods, and it sounds like she's already doing that.
Yeah.
And that'll be a goodwill effort. We want all of our content to perform well, whether sponsored or not. And if something doesn't hit, we'll revisit it and we'll talk about it, and we might circle back and do it again, or share more on that. And I'd invoice them for the work that you promised to do. And then I would continue to authentically and organically share about them, to let them know that this wasn't a one-time thing, that, we're going to continue to. And you know what? I do get emails from brands. Once in a while, I'll get an email saying, you know what? The sales on this post, the conversion was a little soft, they'll say. Do you think Julia would mind resharing? We can extend her coupon code another 72 hours. And I immediately message her. She's always willing to, because it could be anything. It could be, it was a holiday or something and people weren't, on their phones. Or like I said, the algorithm does this. You never know. And if something didn't perform the way we thought it was going to, we'll do what you're doing, which is we'll do the make good and we will reshare it. And if it still doesn't hit, I just keep it open. And I say, I have to invoice you because we already did what we agreed to, but it's not over. And we're going to continue to share. And I will, because we don't leave them in the lurch. It's not ever a one and done here, because we only share about things that we're really passionate about and we really love. Once that contract is over, we continue sharing about it. Maybe we'll be using an affiliate link this time, or, people will ask in comments, what was that paint color again? And we'll get to mention the brand again, that kind of thing. I would say to do the make good, to, send the invoice, and then to keep authentically and organically sharing about that product, that brand, to keep things really nice. That's going to be a great working relationship. And who knows, something you post about organically could hit really hard and they could be like, oh, I'm so glad we should try to work with her again. It's like, it's a very authentic relationship when that happens.
Yeah. And just know it happens to every influencer. And that's why,
Every level.
You want to be careful, and that's why you should kind of beef up that analytics section of your media kit so a brand understands reasonably what to expect engagement-wise. But they are understanding that influencers don't control the algorithms. And while you may create the greatest content they've ever seen, some things are out of our control. And so I wouldn't chalk it up as a loss and just say, well, guess I'm never working with them again. No, there are still opportunities there.
Yeah. Also, brands try to put in all, and this is something I redline in every contract, they try to put minimums. They'll say if the story doesn't get a minimum number of views, you have to redo it. And we cannot guarantee a view. I can show them our average views from the last 30 days. I can, but if we don't do any minimums, it's just too unpredictable. Instead, I will verbally, I'll do it on the phone, I'll do it in an email, and I'll say, we are committed to making this a success. And, we don't contract the make good. We don't do that. But we are your partners in this. We are going to promote this sale. You are going to be able to approve these stories, and this is going to go out. And if for some reason this doesn't go well, we're going to try something else. But I don't do that. I don't do that with contracts because it's too, it's so unpredictable. We can't guarantee anything. We can't, there could be a brownout. I don't know. I mean, you can't guarantee anything. So you have to deliver on what you said. You have to offer pre-approval. You have to put your best foot forward. And then I think it is good practice to have a contingency plan in place. If something doesn't perform well, you are committed to a make good. And it's not in your contract. It's just something you're doing as good business.
I love that. I love that. All right. Well, your homework, everyone listening in, make a list of 10 brands, your 10 brands that you want to work with, your 10 dream brands, and make an effort to start organically tagging them. Tag them in your stories, tag them whenever you're using their product in feed. Now, when you tag them in feed, tag them in the actual photo or video itself. Don't tag them in the caption because then it can sometimes come across as sponsored. But the more you make a conscious effort to tag these brands, you're setting yourself up for success. You are networking with these brands. And when it comes time that you want to send them a pitch for a paid campaign, it's going to work out in your favor. I just know it is. So work on that homework and we will see you guys next week.
Wait, give me my homework. What's my homework, Becca?
Ooh, your homework? Keep up, and anytime you get a weird contract or something new, keep updating us on any new, look for the word backlisting because it's out there. People are using it.
Okay,
look
I'm
for
going to go
any
look it up
weird
right now.
terms and anything that influencers should not be contracting, and any opportunities to slide something in to make the contract value a little higher.
Okay, that's good. All right, and then I'm gonna deliver mine in the Good Influencer Mastermind. That's where we turn our homework in, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, good.
All right, we will see you guys next week.
See you next time.
Bye.
Until next time, follow us on YouTube and Instagram at Good Influencer. And if you're ready to join a whole community of influencers growing organically and getting paid to do what they love, join the Good Influencer Mastermind by visiting our website, good-influencer.com. If you're going to be an influencer, be a good one.